Happy Thursday. It is the 13th of January. Yes, it is. I looked at my watch. I have confirmed. What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's doing well. What am I doing here? My phone is asking me to do something. That's what it's asking me to do. Okay. Yeah, we got lots to talk about today. Lots and lots and lots and lots. What do we want to talk about? First things first, today is Amber Alert Awareness Day. So what's Amber Alert? Do we know what Amber Alert is? I hope everybody does. Some people see it as the thing that bothers them in the middle of the night, that wakes them up and they don't know why. But in truth, it's this amazing thing that helps save kids that need help. So we'll talk more about it in a little while, but that is something we'll talk about today. Hey, everybody, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a Toronto police officer. I talk about traffic and policing on social media every day that I'm in the office. That's Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Until further notice. I don't know. Maybe we'll change the time. Maybe we'll roll the dice one day and do it like at 9:15. I don't know. What's going on? Let's see who's going. Ashton just jumped in on Instagram. Oh, yeah. So where are we? Where can you watch us? Well, Instagram Live is one place. We've been playing with the Instagram for a while now. We're also, of course, on TikTok. That's the mainstay. That's the number one channel that we spend time on. And we are also currently simulcasting on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. Where else? We're on Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, we're everywhere. We're basically everywhere that's important. That's where we are. Okay. I see what's happening. That wants me to punch in a number. Stand by. Got to punch in a number. It's important. And hopefully that worked. And it didn't work. Why didn't it work? I say I won't do this, and then I do this. Because it changed. I love a thing. No, okay. Oh, I know why. Okay, we're going to give up on this. Closing computer. So 320 people in the room. If you don't know who I am, I just said who I was. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. Toronto Police Service has a traffic unit. I work at the traffic unit, and we answer your traffic and police questions every day. Okay. We have folks coming in from YouTube. Akela Dracona says, good day, everybody. How's it going? It's going good. Angela Topple says, good morning, Sean and moderators. Moderators, thank you for bringing it up, Angela. What is the story with moderators? Well, moderators are volunteers. They're not paid members of the service. They're not police officers. They are friends and of the channel. Well, they're just like you. They're people who started off watching the channel who have decided that they want to be involved more. And what do? They became moderators. What is their function? Well, they help answer questions because they're here all the time. They know the answers to most of them, and they share them with those that ask them in the chat. I'm not in the chat. I'll be in the Q&A section. I can't keep track of the chat. There's just too much going on. There's a lot of folks in chat. It's awesome, but it's too much to keep up with. So there's a Q&A function. If you're watching on Instagram or TikTok, use the Q&A function. That's the way that it's going to get to me. If you are watching on YouTube or any of the anything other than Instagram or TikTok, use the comments. Any comments that you make are going to come into one window where I can actually see them. Mark Anthony, hello, good morning on YouTube. Oh yeah, and Angela's coming in from Twitch, and we've got Mark Anthony. Wait, that's twice. What are the requirements for a passenger to identify during a traffic stop? Unless the passenger is being investigated for an HTA offense, or a criminal offense for that matter, there's no obligation to identify. A driver, however, must identify or surrender a driver's license, ownership, and insurance upon demand of a police officer. So a police officer might say, hey, how you doing? What's your name? But that's not a demand. Demand, however, if you're not wearing a seatbelt, that is one where you'd have to comply. And if not, you could be arrested. Okay. Let's see here. Yes, Angela changed see, Angela was throwing me off when her Twitch name was different than her other name, so I didn't know who she was. It's terrible. It's terrible. But thank you very much for changing it. I appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Let's go into the Q&A and see what's cooking there. I see Neon just jumped in. I didn't read the message, but I saw your name. Okay. This is a great question. Crazy Kid 3772 says, what happens if you drive with your G1 alone, by yourself? So if you're a G1 driver, you're required to be supervised by a licensed G driver. Fully licensed, has to have 4 years experience in order to supervise you. Otherwise, they don't qualify. So if you're alone, you're in violation of a condition. In fact, your license isn't valid. It's not a license. It's a learner's permit with a requirement, with a number of requirements or conditions, but supervisory is one of them. You have to be accompanied. Okay, so what happens if you don't get it? Well, obviously, you're going to get a ticket. Ticket's going to be $110, but additionally, on conviction, you're going to get a 30-day suspension. the first time. Second time, you're going to get a 90-day suspension. Third time, you're going to get kicked out of the licensing program, and you are going to have to start again. Any money you have paid thus far will be lost, and your time, because you have to spend a minimum, well, it's 12 months to get your G2, unless you take professional driver training course, at which point you can get it reduced down to 8 months. Well, if you were, let's say, 7 months and 20 days, and you got caught doing that, for the third time, you'd get kicked out. You'd have to start again. Bad day at the office, right? Not a good thing. So don't do it. Also, if you're involved in a collision, the insurance company can deny you because you're not licensed. Deny your claim. So bad things will happen. Additionally, the person who let you drive that car in contravention of a condition, they can be charged under the Highway Traffic Act for doing that. They're not allowed to let you drive. It's not an option. Okay. Can I pass on the right highway with left lane campers? Okay. So there's a little bit of confusion. There's a belief that you cannot pass on the right at all. At all. It's not true. You cannot pass on the right unsafely. Now, there's situations on certain roads that it would be unsafe, and if someone's, let's say it's a 2-lane road and someone's turning, can you go off the road to pass? That's a different story. We're talking about a multi-lane road. Someone's in the passing lane, and there shouldn't be because they're not actively passing. Can you pass on the right? Can you overtake them? Yes, you can if it's safely done. Okay. We already covered Crazy Kid's question. I'll remove the duplicate. That brings me to a concept of don't spam. Please ask your question once. Don't ask it multiple times, because what will happen is you're going to get muted. You won't be able to talk to us, and that's not what anybody wants. Okay, moving on. What do the 4 dots on a license mean? That's a very timely question, Alex. It goes perfectly with the question of driving alone. Those 4 dots represent the fact that you qualify to supervise another driver, that you have enough experience as a G. And by the way, the time, the clock on experience starts when you get your G2. So if you have 2 years as experience as a G2 and then 2 years as a G, your dots mean you have 4 years total experience. Okay. You know what I should do? I should try this. Check this out. It's my water song. This is to avoid having...
I should be able to press that button, sir.
You need to be able to press that button whenever I take a sip?
Yep.
That's my new thing. I'm going to sip. That's my water song. I finally found a use for that. Okay. What is the fine if you have less than 2 people in an HOV? So misuse of an I think it's going to be, you know what? I don't lay that charge. I've never laid that charge, I should say. I think it's going to be disobey sign, which I believe is just going to be $110 and 3 demerit points. I'm going to have to look it up, Will, to see if there's a different charge that would be more fitting. Actually, there might be an HOV specific. Hang on one second. Do I need theme music while I look stuff up? No, I'm good. You know, it's that whole HOV. Let's see. If I just punch in HOV in my search, no, it doesn't come up. Because I'm in rules of the road. Hang on one second. It's back into the general. HOV, because I think there's a specific charge and I can't find it. I think it's disobey sign. There may be something more specific. I'll have to get back to you on it. But it's a great question. It's obviously one I haven't answered before. Can you go through a red light when emergency is behind you? We talked about this yesterday. No, you cannot go through a red light. Nobody can go through a red light other than police, fire, and ambulance, regardless if we're behind you or not. You're not covered. You're not insured. If it causes a collision, you are in big trouble. So what's the deal? You can make a right turn, but 99.99% of the time, we're not going to expect you to get out of our way. In fact, we're going to wait for the light to change, for traffic to start moving, and then activate our lights and sirens once we've cleared the intersection to safely go where we have to go to an emergency call. Now, if we are approaching stop traffic at a red light, we're not going to get behind you and try and move a dozen cars. We're going to go into oncoming traffic. That's going to be the safest way, path of least resistance. Okay, and... So Mark Anthony from YouTube, thank you so much. Improper use of HOV is 2 demerit points and $110. Actually, Q had looked it up and says HOV lane is $110 and 3 demerit points. In any case, 154.1 sub 3 of the HTA apparently covers that. I'll have to go and enter that into my little database here that I couldn't find. Maybe the wording's different. Maybe it's under high occupancy, and I searched HOV.
Yeah, it's high occupancy.
That's what it is. So it's. I was searching the wrong keyword. But thank you. I appreciate the information from Mark. This is a community thing. If you've got stuff you want to say, if you want to share, if you think you've got an answer, if you think we're wrong, by all means, let's have a conversation about it.
Speaking of community,
yeah.
survey.
Oh, survey. Okay, let me. Okay, we're going to talk about survey for a second, then we're going to come back to. I never printed it out. That means I have to go get my iPad. Or can I pull it up here? Yeah, I'm going to pull it up here. I'm going to pull it up on my iPhone because it's going to be stored there as well. And while I'm doing that, we're going to answer the question about straight pipes. It says here, why are straight pipes not allowed? Well, here's this funny little thing. In a straight pipe, it's nothing in it. And that means there's no muffler or resonator. It's straight, right? And we're assuming it's catback. We're assuming you have catalytic converter, which is a requirement. But we're gonna assume that it's simply that you don't have a muffler and resonator. Well, guess what? Those are required pieces of equipment. You have to have them. It's not an option. You take them out, you make those pipes illegal. Additionally, you're going to be making more noise than you were before. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're illegal. So you're going to create too much noise, which is against the law, and you're going to have an improper exhaust, which is also illegal. Okay, what I'm doing right now is putting up a QR code to the screen. If you capture this QR code, if you scan it with another device, if you screen cap the photo, you'll be able to complete. Let me get closer. You can complete a survey. It's a really quick survey, giving it over to the TikTok camera. You've already got it on the screen for YouTube and everybody else. But what that will take you to is a SurveyMonkey survey. It takes like 2 seconds to do. I started. It takes 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 seconds. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It's like 3 pages. It's where do you live in general terms, GTA, outside of GTA, Canada, USA. Have you learned anything from what we've talked about? It's basically a measurement to see what you think of what we're doing. It's a way of giving your feedback so we can do things better. We just want to give you the best product possible. That will help us ensure that we do that. So please give us a survey entry. You can also go on to our Twitter, at Traffic Services. Links are there. If the scan code doesn't work for you, you can find us in the last day or so. We've tweeted it a number of times. Okay. Let's go to another question. Someone wants to know about dead bodies. It's a silly question. We're not going to go there. I'll say what it says. The question was, what is the legal fine for having a dead body? I don't know why anyone would. Anyway, we're not going in there. It is silly. What is this? Going to take my G1, which website should I learn? If you go to the HTA or the drivetest.ca website, or just search Driver's Handbook Ontario MTO, it's going to give you a PDF copy of the book for free. You can also buy a printed copy, but you can get it for free online. Study that. That's the book to study. That was that question. Let's see. We got a couple questions coming in from Instagram. How do you know if someone is drinking and driving? So here's a funny thing. When you drive sober, you tend to drive well. Those who do not drive well tend to be impaired. Now, that's a generality. What we do is we investigate. When there's something going on where someone's swerving, not keeping in their lane, driving really slow for the speed of traffic, driving too quickly, we investigate. That conversation generally expands to alcohol or drugs. And then when we have that suspicion, or if we're just doing mandatory alcohol screening, we will actually test for these things with roadside field sobriety tests or alcohol screening devices. And then we'll continue the investigation. So sometimes it's just behavior that doesn't fit, and we investigate. And that's how it all starts. We covered this one. Let's close it off the screen. Just a quick reminder, if you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I go live on, I used to say TikTok, but now it's like social media, pretty much everywhere. And we answer your traffic and police questions. Yeah. For an hour every day, Monday to Friday. And what does it do? Why are we doing it? Well, we want to be able to communicate and get the answers or questions answered, because we know there's stuff you need to know and want to know and have difficulty finding the answers, do not have good resources available to you, don't have access to police officers as easily, because we don't do these community events the way we used to do all the time. It's just different. The world is different. And we are doing our best to be available to you. So that is what we're doing. Okay. Okay, here's the question, and it's an interesting question. What if a G driver has never driven more than, besides their tests for G1 and so on, could they be a G1? Could they accompany a G1? So, okay, you get your license, you qualify, and then you never drive again. Are you considered qualified as a G driver to supervise? Yeah, you are. You aren't tested based on how many miles you've completed. You've tested based on how long you've had your license. So if you've qualified as a G and you still have it, and you keep renewing your license despite the fact that you're not using it, 4 years experience gives you the ability to be a supervising driver. You think that should, do you agree with that? Do you think it should change? Do you think we should make people test every year and prove that they drive a certain distance? I don't know. It's an interesting conversation point. Let's have a look at what's coming in. We got a hi from Sean Chen YouTube, a regular. And Undead Neon wants to know, when is the next Jerry show? Good question. We appear regularly on the Jerry Agar show. That's a News Talk 1010 production. He's on the air in Toronto on 1010 CHFI. And we go online. We actually blend our channels. So our TikTok airs on the air, so your questions get answered. You hear what he's saying. People call into the radio station, ask questions. We blend together and make one interesting segment. So we either do a single or a double, 10 or 30 minutes when you consider breaks, and we usually do that every other week. We didn't do one this week, so we should be doing it next week, but I've got to confirm and see if Jerry's back in town. Okay. Here's a question. What if you have a resonator but no muffler? If you have a resonator but no muffler, you are still not meeting the requirements of the HTA. You don't have a muffler. A muffler is a required piece of equipment, so not only could you be charged for improper muffler, but you could also be charged for unnecessary noise if the noise was unacceptable. Okay, Joyce Connor coming in from Facebook says, good morning, everyone. Okay. Oh, almost pressed the wrong button. Okay.
I'm scared.
All right. Is a quick release steering wheel legal? So everything points to no. Certainly you cannot replace your steering wheel if you have an airbag system. You cannot replace it with a non-airbag steering wheel. And a seatbelt system is part of a system. It is not a sole item. It doesn't work independently. It works in concert with an airbag. You take that airbag out, and people have been, and I mean people, by people I mean specialists in the community of policing, say that that is now unsafe. You could actually have your license plates pulled. You've modified the safety equipment for the car. The car is tested and safety with it. You now have an unsafe vehicle. Quick release adds a new spin to it. Quick release steering wheels are designed for race cars, so they don't have tilt steering and they don't have adjustable seats. They have a tiny hole to get into. The steering wheel must come out in order for them to enter the vehicle. That's the reason for it. Putting that on a civilian car is not advisable. I don't know if there's a specific law saying thou shalt not put a disconnect steering wheel, but I think it falls into the category of unsafe.
Sean, I was just listening into the question there, and what would the benefit of that be? Why would somebody want to do that?
It goes beyond, I don't understand. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see any benefit to it at all.
Maybe no one can steal your car if you take your steering wheel with you.
You'd have to drive with vice grips.
Who's that?
That's Sergeant Murray Campbell. He's just joined us. If you move the mic closer, we will hear you better. But it is he is joining us. He often joins us in the office. He's got a microphone over there. You won't see him, but you will hear him. And he has a wealth of information, knowledge, and stuff and things.
I love popping in, Sean, when you're doing this. This is great. I don't always have the time to spend an awful lot of time here. But when I can,
you do a lot of different things. You're the pound sergeant. You're a media relations officer. There's a lot of stuff here, and people often ask me, how can you sit here on TikTok? Why do you do this? And you know what? We juggle a lot of things. We are a multi-function unit, and whatever needs getting done, we do. Sometimes we won't be able to even do this because something that is urgent comes into play, and we may have to say, sorry, guys, today we're not going live. But we hope to be here, and sometimes we have two people here. It's great. Okay. We have a question from Instagram that says, does a photocopy or electronic copy of your driver's license or other document count as valid proof? We get this question on a regular basis. The answer is, depends on which document. As a driver's license, no. At the moment, in Ontario, you must provide the actual photo card. That's the plastic card issued to you by the ministry, or the green temporary card that's given to you that doesn't have a photo. And it says is a driver's license, temporary as it may be. That's acceptable, but photocopies are not. Photos are not. Electronic stored photos of it, images, not. We expect next year they probably will have a digital copy coming out. They said they were hoping to get it by the end of last year. It didn't happen. So it's in the works and will one day be here.
I think our date coming up is June.
Is that right?
That's what they're heading for.
Well, it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and I'm looking forward to it. It'll be very interesting when your phone dies and you try and say, but I really am licensed, because if your phone dies, you're still going to get the charge, right? You have to be able to provide that proof. So what happens about other documents? If you have an insurance document, currently in Ontario, you can provide electronic copies, not photocopies, but electronic copies provided by your insurance provider or the original paper card. And then additionally, if you have a ownership, well, you have to have an ownership. If you have an ownership for your vehicle, you can have the original or you can have a photocopy. The photocopy, however, must be a true copy. What does a true copy mean? It means a copy of both the front and the back of a valid document. You can't put a sticker, you can't scratch out the expiry date and write in the new one. It has to be a photocopy, both sides of a valid document. Okay, that is the answer to that, and every which way we can go. Neon had said a couple... what do we see here? Morning, Sarge. Neon says good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to... Oh, Will says good morning to you as well. What if your car is old? Can you have a straight pipe then? Your car would have to be so old that they predated emission standards. So if you have a Model T, they probably didn't have a muffler back then. I'm assuming they don't have mufflers. So if your vehicle was manufactured and in the date of the year that it was manufactured, there were no requirements, just like seatbelts, then you would be able to operate that vehicle. However, if it was old but new enough to be covered under the requirements to have had a muffler, you got to have one. Okay. That question came in from Sammy. It's a good question, actually. Why is it called jaywalking? Well, jaywalking is not a charge in Ontario. It's a term that comes from elsewhere. Q, you told me the answer to this question once. I had not known it. It is, I think, a British term. I think it's a British term. Q,
It's a British term,
Hey, I
but
remembered something.
not something appropriate for
Oh, it's an
stream.
inappropriate statement. I think it suggests that you may not be making a good decision in life running into traffic. I think that's what the nice way of saying what the J comment refers to, possibly. But Google this. I'm sure it's Googleable. Googleable. I can make your words up. Okay, I'm going to look at Instagram. Here. Okay. Would you get a ticket if you stop at the stop sign for 1 second? Time is not part of the equation. However, weight transfer or actually stopping is. If you were to come to a stop and you don't have to count to 3 or 2 or 1 to go. It just has to be that you have to come to a complete stop. I generally look for a transfer of weight from the front tires when you're decelerating, rocking back to the rear tires. And the deal is that if it's safe to go, there's nobody there. There's nothing saying you have to wait longer than that, but it has to be a complete stop.
Yeah, and it has to be safe before you start to proceed again.
Right. So like in the scenario where it's safe, there's no obligation to stay longer. I'm just pouring some more water here. There's no obligation to stay longer than it takes to make a complete stop. Yeah. I know in military bases, we talk about the military stop, and I've been told that's a 3-second stop. That may be a regulation of certain, organizations like the military. They can make rules like that. We don't have rules like that. What if I forgot my driver's license at home? A very common question. It's a good question. If you forget your license at home, then you're going to be unable to surrender that license, and as a result, when a demand is made of you by a police officer, you'll be unable to fulfill it, and you could get a ticket for $110. No demerit points, but it is a $110 fine. Let's see here. Could you verbally identify your identity if you forgot your driver's license at home? Okay, so we got a couple of questions that are all sort of along the same lines. I'm going to give you a blanket. You can tell us who you are, and yes, we have an ability to verify who you are and the license status that you may or may not have. But that does not manage or cover the obligation you have as a driver required to provide a physical copy, surrender to the satisfaction of the officer, your actual driver's license. So you can tell us every number, recite it perfectly, you can show us a picture, you can do all sorts of things. However, that does not meet the requirements. And it's not about just finding out who you are. It's meeting the requirements of the law.
There are 2 separate charges for that, though, Sean. One is failing to surrender the driver's license, but there is a separate charge of failing to identify. So in
Yes.
absence of the driver's license, you are obligated to fully identify yourself, and that information has to be corroborated. We have to actually believe who you are, who you're saying. So we may ask some, surrounding questions. Your date of birth, your address, your previous address, family members, stuff like that, so that who you are can be corroborated, and we believe you. You wouldn't want to identify yourself as somebody else, and then somebody else get a ticket issued, and it wasn't them.
I got a great story about that. So I pulled a driver over. He did not have his driver's license with him. He provided me with his name, date of birth, and all sorts of information. He knew it all, wrote it down, went and searched it in. I came back and told him that he was under suspension. His response was, "My brother's under suspension?" He's never been licensed. The person who was driving had never been licensed and had been, for probably a portion of his life, providing and identifying as his brother, who was under suspension, likely based on something the person in front of me had done. I forgot all about that story until this very moment. So thank you for this conversation that just reminded me about it. And he was an impaired driver on top of that. So it was a great day at the office for that gentleman. Considering marijuana is legal, is the odor of marijuana reason to search a vehicle? Now, marijuana and alcohol now being legal, you're not allowed to consume it inside of a vehicle. So it depends. It depends. Mm-hmm. Are we investigating someone for impaired operation? We're not searching you for possession at that point, possibly open container. There is authority to look for open containers. If you see it in plain sight, certain things apply. Certainly that could be a reason to have a look at the area immediately around the driver.
But it causes an investigation to be started, right? And that's the whole thing. There are limits of how much you're allowed to carry, especially in a vehicle. If you're transporting pounds of marijuana, the smell may be giving that away and cause a different type of investigation to occur.
And there's a difference between the smell of burnt marijuana versus fresh marijuana. So everything depends, but certainly there could be cause for a search. Okay. So somebody wants to know if they remember the driver's license number. So same answer that we've sort of beaten that one beyond the point of identity. We're going to move on from those questions. Is it illegal to park on the other side of the road? Well, if you turn around, you can park on the other side of the road. But if you mean counter to traffic, it's actually not legal from everything I understand. And I am not a parking aficionado, but we do have one that is physically not here. But
I actually can answer that one. In the city of Toronto, it is unlawful to park left wheels to the curb.
There you go. So, I thought it was. Thank you for confirming it.
I'm not sure if that extends to other municipalities or not, but it is a bylaw. And it's a parking offense. I'm not sure if the Uniform Traffic Bylaw or Ontario regulations regulate that on non-city roads.
Interesting. So big thing to know is where you are planning to do this, if that was your goal. Find out what the local laws are, but ultimately you don't want to be. It causes, aside from simply making us crazy with our OCD and what direction it is, it just doesn't match, one thing doesn't look right. No, it's because when you have to then leave that parking spot, it creates an unsafe situation. And when you're leaving it, if you make an unsafe move, that does become a Highway Traffic Act offense, and you could be charged that way. So either which way, you're looking at a bad day. Will the officer let me drive away if I forgot my driver's license? I said we were going to talk about this, but if we can verify that you are a licensed driver, would we let you drive away? Yes, you're a licensed driver. We're not saying that you can't operate the motor vehicle, but you are in violation of the Highway Traffic Act at that point. What's the Polity for running a red light? Is that policy? Polity? I don't know what the word is or what your question is. If you run a red light, you can be charged for failing to stop for a red light. It is a $325 fine and 3 demerit points. It's obviously very unsafe and could lead to a collision. Facebook question from Joyce. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, Q. What's the difference between TPS towing and private towing companies? Wow, you are in luck, Joyce, because I might have an authority on that topic sitting over there.
So we actually have our own tow trucks. They are operated by servicemen that are Toronto Police employees. We use those tow trucks for towing crime vehicles. So something that has to have an expert examination done or a forensic examination. We use our own internal tow trucks to take it to a safe facility where that can be accomplished. We also are under contract with 3 towing operators within the city of Toronto, and they tow on our behalf. They're independent of us, but if you've parked your car illegally and you get a ticket in, say, a rush hour zone, they will come. We will order the tow to take the vehicle away. We will provide the paperwork. We are the ones that are towing the vehicle, but they do it for us.
So the deal is that when we use a tow, we vetted them. They're trusted. They have a regulated set of prices that they have to adhere to. So it's for the protection of you, the owner of the vehicle, that we use a tow truck company that we have verified and have status with. Outside of the GTA or other companies, we can't control what they do. There are some regulations in terms of in the GTA in general.
So actually, there are provincial regulations under the Consumer Protection Act that says that you have to have a quote. It has to be in writing, and you have to know the price of your tow before they start doing any of the work.
Know your tow.
Know your tow. And in Toronto, we have bylaws that cover that as well. So if in doubt, just like you were doing if you're getting a quote for anything else, get a quote how much it's going to cost you. Collision scene tows in the city of Toronto, they're regulated. $261.38 is the maximum any tow truck operator can charge if they're towing you away from the collision scene.
And something to know about being towed away from a collision scene: if you're going to the collision reporting center, you don't pay that tow. That's actually paid by the collision reporting center. It's a fixed amount.
Yep.
Good things to know. Question about a 1970 GTO left side mirror stock, no passenger side mirror. Is it legal? Yes. In fact, you're only required by law in the HTA to have one mirror view to the rear. So is it better to have more mirrors? Yes. Do you have to have more than one? No. So let's say you have a Jeep and you remove your doors. Those doors have the mirrors affixed to them. You only have a rear view mirror. As long as that's not blocked, you're still within the rules and conforming to the rules. So your GTO is legit, regardless of the fact that it was produced in the 70s, even if it was produced tomorrow with one side view mirror and the rear view on the windshield, you'd still be good.
And it's a nice car.
It is a nice car. I am mildly jealous. Joyce follows up with, know your tow. Thank you. Okay. Can I get a ticket parking in front of my own house? Absolutely. If you are violating a rule, then you are still eligible for a ticket, regardless if you own, rent, or otherwise occupy the property adjacent to where you have placed your vehicle in contravention of the whatever rule you're breaking. But there could be, for instance, a standard rule in the city of Toronto is 3 hours. You can't park on a street beyond 3 hours. So if you're doing that in front of your own home, you're still going to get a ticket. Now, many of these tickets you might get away with for a while, but eventually you could be charged. And just because people have done it for years doesn't make it possible or right, doesn't make it okay. And that's usually one of those things. But I've been doing it forever. Well, today it forever changed. Okay, let's see here. Oh, a question just popped up. I'll come back to that one. I haven't read it yet. I just saw it pop up from Twitch. How can I know where to park near my house? You're going to have to do some investigation because I don't know where you live and I don't know where you can park. But follow the signs. That's really a good indication. Regardless of signs, if it's in the city of Toronto, 3 hour max rule. So generally speaking, you park in your driveway. If you don't have a driveway, find somewhere legal and make inquiries with your local parking authority would be also a good way to find it if you really don't have an answer.
Sean, is 3 hour maximum unless permitted otherwise.
Oh, this is a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm not a street parker. There are communities that have no parking on driveway. They don't have driveways, and street parking is required. You can apply with the city of Toronto or whatever your local municipality that has this, and you can get a permit to be on the street long term because you pay for it. And then there's those things, they switch it for snow. It's very confusing. I'm glad I don't park on the street. I feel for those who do because that sounds like complications.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've seen some amazing videos. I say amazing. Montreal gets a lot of snow. I don't know how they're doing this year, but Montreal generally gets a lot of snow. And visiting friends who went to school in Montreal, I remember seeing vehicles parked on the side of the road with snow mountains beside them because they didn't clear it in time. They didn't get vehicles off the road in time as per the requirements. And those vehicles, you'd be digging for hours to get them out. Just ridiculous amounts of snow. Are drive test centers open? Yes, they are. They are still testing people. They've made some changes, and you can check with a few TikTok creators. They've got some great information. Apparently, there's recent changes to the testing procedure to get people through faster and more efficiently. Don't know the details of that, but it's apparently faster. Can you pass a snowplow legally? I think we talked about this.
We have talked about
We're
this
going to look
before.
into this, and I forgot to look into it. I would say it's unsafe, and your mileage may vary because you are going into an unplowed, unsalted area of the road, which would be dangerous. Every piece of information, I've even sent tweets about this, says don't pass snowplows. Now, whether it's legal, if you can be charged for it, I don't know. I still don't have the answer for that. I am a bad man. But I will. I'll do better tomorrow. It's unsafe. I would not suggest it. I can certainly not endorse it. Okay. For anyone who's watching, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I'm joined by Sergeant Murray Campbell. He is a sergeant at Traffic Services, and we are talking about traffic and police stuff. If you've got questions, drop them into the Q&A. We're going to try and answer them. And what can I tell you? If you are watching currently on Instagram Live, if you are on TikTok Live, please do me a favor. Please double tap that screen repeatedly until your fingers go numb. That will help tell everybody else on TikTok and Instagram that this room is worth being in here. If you have people that you think would benefit from the information, if you have people that you don't like but would still be safer drivers as a result of it, share it with them. Invite them in, the more the merrier. This is a QR code that I'm trying to show on two cameras. Oh, there we go. What this QR code will take you to is a SurveyMonkey survey. A quick 2 minutes will get you the ability to give us your 2 cents. Or 3 cents, whatever you got time for. There's a couple of quick questions and then a free form. Type what you want, good, bad. Otherwise, we want to make sure we are doing the best that we can to give you a quality product, and that means we need to hear from you. So you can screen grab it. You can also go on to Twitter at at Traffic Services. That's our Traffic Services main TikTok. On there are links to the survey. I will put another one up after the show. Your input would be much appreciated. Okay. Going into how quickly can you accelerate if you stay under the limit? We've talked about this a lot. It depends. We want you to be safe. Accelerating quickly just because you can is not necessarily safe. The interpretation of the officer might be that you're racing, might be that you're stunting, it might be complications and aggravation you don't need. Drive safely, drive reasonably. Obviously, we don't want pedestrians jumping out of the way because they fear being struck by you. So depending on what you do and how it's perceived, it may lead to charges. Okay, we're going to go on to another one. Are there new changes to the G2 test? Not that I'm aware of. If you check the Ministry of Transportation Twitter, you do get updates, and we try and make updates as well when we hear about certain centers having more tests available if you're having difficulty booking something. Can you still get your G2 if you do your motorcycle? What's the rest of that question? It got cut off. I don't know what motorcycle I is, but yeah, if you have you can get a G1, G2, M1, M2 all at the same time. There's nothing preventing you from doing both streams at the same time. I think you should probably do one and then the other. Focus on learning one while being safe, but there's nothing preventing you. When I was 16, I got my G, and then very shortly afterwards, I got my M. Of course, I'm old enough to say I didn't have to do graduated, and I'm not unhappy about that.
Yeah, back then, 365 was your learner.
And a 70-day...
no, 90-day.
90 days?
Yep.
I thought it was 70 days.
That was a 90-day to... it pretty much covered you the entire summer for you to learn how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, and I went through... I didn't take a course originally, and I was very fortunate to run into an instructor at a gas station. And we started talking, and he says, so you take a course? I go, no. What do I need a course for? I'm riding just fine. He says... what's push turning? I go, I don't know what you're talking about. And he took me to a parking lot. Very nice guy. I don't remember who he is. Taught me push steering and opened my eyes to a whole new concept. I basically rode a bicycle as a kid and said, that's a bicycle with a motor. I can do this. Lots that you need to learn. So if you're going to get into motorcycling, I would suggest getting a course. Courses are hard to come by right now. There's a major backlog, so do your best if you can get booked into a course. There's lots of good providers. It didn't prevent me, my not taking the course didn't prevent me from becoming a good rider. In fact, I took an advanced level course much later on in life, and I eventually became a motor squad officer and a level 3 one at that. So a course is going to make your life better. Is also going to get you insurance discounts. Okay. Can you drift in an empty parking lot? I know this upsets people. This trigger warning, but the answer is no. You cannot drift anywhere. There's really nowhere except a licensed track. I shouldn't say licensed track. That doesn't say licensed in the HTA. It says track or built for that purpose. A track that's built to be a track, not a. The rest is interpretation. I can't give you my advice as to what I think pylons in a circle is a track, or if you have to pave it. Like that's yet to be seen. But a track is permissible, and not a track is not permissible. And it goes to the point of saying like farmers' fields, school park, like it lists underground, above ground. Everywhere is no stunt driving, and drifting is stunt driving. Any intentional loss of traction, taking your wheels off the ground, burnouts, tons of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brand new law in Ontario. It has, I would imagine, it's about to be tested in court. And then we'll get some interpretations from the court about what it is and what it isn't, what the parameters we're allowed to abide by, or the drivers are allowed to abide by.
It's going to develop. It's going to change. It's going to be nailed down through this being taken to court. I don't know if anyone's being charged on private property as of yet. I just don't know. Certainly, on the roads, the increased penalties are being seen in terms of the 30-day suspension and the 14-day impound. We're seeing that a lot. I don't know what's going on in private property. I just haven't heard anything.
Yeah, no, neither have I, but I'm sure it's been done.
No question it's been done. Okay. Now people would like to know the update on the officer caught donating or doing some kind of loss. We don't know. The video was shared with us. The video was obviously seen by others. A report, I should say, it's being investigated internally. And I have an update. I am not privy to that information. I'm sure we'll hear about it eventually, but I have no information for you at this time. But I would not want to be that person. That's just a me thing. Okay. Oh, here. Can cops drift in parking lots? Yeah, okay, we covered that. So no one can drift in parking lots. It's stunt driving. Can you drift on your own property? We've covered that. So a lot of duplication. I'm not ignoring you if I don't put your name up on screen. If you did your M1, you get your G2, something like that. If you have a full if you have a full M, it counts as a G1. It's a mouthful.
Correct.
If you have your full M, it counts as a G1, which means you can operate a car while being supervised the same as a G1. And at that point, you get the opportunity to practice, and you can. I wonder if you have to actually, if your clock starts, like when are you eligible to take your G2? I wonder. I think it gives you the privileges, but it doesn't actually start your clock. I think you still have to apply for your G1.
You would have to apply for your G1 as well and wait the required period of time. There is, the time can go down depending on what you do. If you're taking a course, driver's education, but yes, you would actually have to physically go in and apply for a G1 and be.
I've never actually tested that. I wonder if you would be able to, upon getting your M, 8 months later do your G2. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's a good question. I'm gonna phone a friend. I happen to have some people who are good contacts. I know some people, and some of them are on my Discord server. And our Discord server, it's not my Discord server, but some people who work for the MTO might be able to help me with that. Okay.
My Discord server.
It's your Discord server, that's right. But it's a community thing. Okay. Is it legal to peel off my Band-Aid in public? The jury says, okay. I'm sure that you're okay to do that. I'm not gonna give you permission. You should hide under I don't know. I'm making stuff up. Okay. How long does someone have to report a crime? There's a period of time for different charges as to whether or not for statute of limitations. Is that covers every? Now that's an American term, isn't it? Statute of limitations, or do we still have something?
No, we have that here.
We have limitations.
Depending
Is it called
on
the statute?
Depending on what sort of crime it is. For example, provincial charges, depending on how they are laid, the charge could be 30 days, could be 6 months,
Could be 3 years.
could be 3 years, could be criminal charges. Some charges don't have a limitation on it at all.
You look at sexual assaults.
I was about to say historical sexual assaults that have been reported many years later. People are being held account for those.
And rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it depends. But if you have a crime that you want to report, you can report it, and that's certainly you can do that anonymously. You can do that in person, depending on the situation and what your comfort is. Depends on what your role is in it. There are different opportunities to do that. You can go to www.torontopolice.on.ca. You can go look at Crime Stoppers for an anonymous version, a way of starting off. But if you have concerns and you have a crime to report, certainly you can contact your local police. Does defensive driving courses lower your insurance? Maybe, yes. I would say yes based on my experience. I don't know the specific mechanics of how much of a discount they give. I believe driver training gives you a year of experience. I think that's how they count it. Don't quote me because it's my belief, not my knowledge of it. We have Tassos, who may or may not be in the room. He is an underwriter. He said something to that effect once, and I was paying attention mostly. I think that's what it was for motorcycles. I assume it's the same for cars.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Each independent, the insurance companies are independent. They're not government agencies. They are regulated, but they make up their own rates.
So they don't have to give you the discount. They choose to give you the discount.
Right.
Okay.
To encourage you to be a better driver.
There you go. I like it. Do traffic services officers work rotating shifts? Yes. And depends. So I do not. I work a Monday to Friday, but I'm an inside worker. I don't work in a car. I'm not on patrol. I am in the office. I work Monday to Friday, and there are officers who are on the road responding to calls. They do work shifts, and we've recently changed the shift pattern to which one that I have no idea how it works because I don't know. Used to be that we worked 7 days on and then got was it 7-6, 7-5, 7-4? So we used to do 7 10-hour day shifts followed by 5 days off. I don't even remember now. 6 days off?
Yeah, it was 7...
7-6, 7-5, 7-4.
No, 7-3.
7-3 because you were off on a midnight. Okay,
Yep.
so you did 7 shifts, 10-hour shifts followed by 6 days off, 7 shifts in a different time start. Then you got 5 days off, and then you did 7 8-hour night shifts, and then got 3 days off, and you started all over again. That has now changed. Is no longer the way, but that yes, officers across the service generally work. See,
And we have specialty units in here as well that are, specialty enforcement units.
Yep.
So a commercial motor vehicle enforcement unit, they work a different shift to coincide with when the vast majority of commercial motor vehicles are being operated.
so it depends.
Yeah. Our Vision Zero enforcement team, there's another different schedule.
And speaking of Vision Zero enforcement team, I haven't talked about them recently. Vision Zero is a concept of how to make roads safer, how to reduce serious injuries and death on our roadways, and it's a good one. And part of that was the creation of the Vision Zero enforcement team. That's 18 officers. They're full-time members of the team, and they are focused on changing driver behavior. How do they do that? They focus on the big four. What's the big four? That's speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. Those are the behaviors that lead to serious injury and death more often than not. So what do? They focus on writing tickets to change driver behavior. And according to the Safe Driver, approved driving school gives you 3 years of experience. 3 years. That's amazing.
Wow.
Okay. And just a note, aggressive spam. Aggressive spam is being experienced by our moderators, and they would like you to stop. They are muting people. Their muting buttons are tired. Please don't spam. Please be kind. Our moderators are volunteers, not police officers, not paid members of the service. They're trying to make it better for everybody. A better experience for the whole gang. Okay. Let's see here. License sticker expired. Is it needed to sell a car? You don't have to have plates on a car in order to sell it. However, if you're going to drive it, test drive it, and so on, then it would have to be plated. If your license sticker expired March 2020 or later, you're currently covered until February 28th with that expired tag. So you would be able to use it as long as it's insured up until the end of February. After that, it's expired and you cannot. Okay. Chat questions are answered in the chat. I only see stuff that's in the Q&A or on the other platforms in the chat comment section, but that's separate. Okay. Okay, I want to see what's going on here. Are aftermarket exhaust systems from Mbrp illegal? I don't know that brand. I'm assuming Mbrp is a brand. I couldn't say whether those are manufactured to a standard that permit you to use them. It all depends on whether they meet the standard and legal or if you look at an exhaust pipe, it'll generally say, if it's a motorcycle one anyway, it'll say not for street use or or give you some indication of whether it meets the grade. Certainly, a mechanic or motorcycle dealer should be able to give you that kind of guidance, and if they can't, you may want to find a new one to deal with. But you must know that anything that is louder is probably not doing it legal. If you're trying to change the tune and it's suddenly obnoxiously loud, you may be looking at tickets for not only having an improper muffler, but sorry, I just read something from Neon that made me laugh, and I will address it in a second. But yeah, if it's louder, it's probably not legal. There are requirements, and in the city of Toronto, specifically to motorcycles, you cannot idle at night you cannot create more than 92 decibels of sound at idle because there's a bylaw for that specifically. Okay, Neon says, I know Q is going to kill me, but what's the tint and underglow laws? Yes, we have managed to avoid talking about tint and underglow thus far in the show, but let's talk about it because everyone needs to know about this. Underglow, this is the LEDs that were popular in the 80s and should have been left in the 80s. These are light bulbs or light-emitting diodes or whatever you want to call it that illuminate the ground, so it gives you the illusion of floating. Except it never really works well because people don't put enough lights on. Anyway, what's the law about them? There's no specific law that says thou shalt not underglow. However, the use of underglow may contravene other areas of law. If the bulbs are visible and projecting forwards in colors that are not permitted in the direction of light travel, that could be an issue. So if you have green light facing anywhere, green light's prohibited because it's a volunteer firefighter color. If you are using red or blue, those are reserved for police and snowplows for blue. I never understood that. We need to get them like something like I don't know. What color would be good for snowplows?
Well, you know what?
They need their own. Blue is used.
Well, no, we kind of took over blue from the snowplows.
So the deal is, that's true. We adopted, they had it first. So the colors that are reserved, red, blue, green, those are not permitted to be used and should not be used in any direction. In terms of if you're shining anything other than yellow or white forward, that's a problem. If you're shining anything other than red or amber rear, that's a problem. And it's for safety. It's for allowing vehicles to know what direction a vehicle is traveling as they see it, as they approach it. If they see red light, they may think it's brake lights. We're looking for problems. Anyway, those could be different HTA offenses that you are violating, and you shouldn't have it. Private property, go nuts, do what you want on private property when you're not stunt driving, go nuts. Underglow, go nuts. It's great for when you're parking cars at a car show. These things are understandable. Don't use them on the road. It's looking for a problem. What was the other question? Oh, tint. Okay, quick deal on tint. Regulations in terms of for getting a safety completed, you need to have less than 30% light blockage on the driver's and passenger in the front side, the windows directly left and right of the driver. Those cannot exceed 30% light blockage. Now, people talk about different tint manufacturers and ratings, and sometimes they're talking about how much light they let through, and sometimes they're talking about how much light they stop. To be very clear, you have to let 70% of the light through, 30% of the light can be blocked. That's for those two windows alone. The windows behind you, the rear window, the rear compartment, and anything behind the driver's seat, that can be as dark as you want. It's not regulated. Think about a panel van. You don't have to have windows at all. You could board them up. So what about the windshield? Windshield can't be tinted in any way, shape, or form, save and except for the top 3 inches of a windshield. 75 millimeters, 3 inches across the top on a vehicle that's manufactured before 2017. That is a stipulation. If it's older vehicle, you can have that 3-inch tint strip. If it's newer, you can't, and that's it. Nothing on the front. Additionally, you must know that you cannot use reflective tint, and you cannot use color tint so far as to obscure the interior of your vehicle. That is different than what is required for a safety inspection. If a police officer cannot see inside, cannot identify a driver, cannot make an observation of what's going on in the vehicle, that's obscuring the interior of the vehicle. That is illegal. So why would that be illegal? Well, there's a couple of reasons why tint is unsafe. If it obstructs your ability to see out, that's a problem. But we have to be able to see in. Not only police, but members of the public have to be able to make eye contact with drivers. They have to be able to, if they are capable of making eye contact. Some people can't do that. It makes it difficult for them. I don't want to make anyone feel bad. But for those that are looking to make eye contact with a driver, they have to have that ability for safety. Additionally, police officers need to be able to see if you're using your phone, if you're doing something illegal, if if you were involved in a collision and you failed to stop. We want to know if it's a male, female, otherwise person in the car and get some level of description. That is the idea behind not obscuring the interior, and that's it. That's the whole story. I've seen people and I've seen videos of people peeling out the windshield tint at the side of the road because they want to avoid the ticket. And you know what? The safest thing is don't do it. I understand all sorts of reasons why people want tint. It's privacy. They want to pick their nose, whatever the state may be. Additionally, it reduces solar load and makes it cooler in the vehicle. I get it. You know what? There are clear coatings that do not obscure, that are optically correct, that also act as UV. In fact, most windshields of modern vehicles have a UV coating standard. So that solar load excuse is less valid. And another thing, many people in the States, because everyone went wild when I posted a 5% tint video, they said, well, I've got a medical condition. My skin's very sensitive. My eyes are very sensitive. Wear sunglasses, and there's no medical exemption in Ontario for tint. You can get a medical exemption for lots of things. Tint isn't one of them. And that is probably the longest I've gone on about tint and underglow in weeks.
You know what? You've covered it, though. You've covered it all.
I'm glad.
It's almost like
I've done this before?
Yeah, repeated that before.
Big Jeff Fresh coming in from YouTube. I thought we were going to miss you. Didn't realize you were going to make it, but just swinging in for a quick hi. How are you? Well, I'm doing well. Thanks, Big Jeff Fresh, for asking. And Neon says, oh, and can I have a banner on my windshield? It may have been you who told me this, Sarge. The deal is you can't obstruct your view. So if you put something, whether it be fuzzy dice that you can't see past, or you put a sticker on your windshield as a banner, there is an issue. It obstructs your ability to see. Whether you think it does or it doesn't, it may. And it's going to be the officer to make that determination. A good test, and I think this is where it came in from Sergeant Campbell, is if you have anything that is touched by the windshield wipers in their sweep if you have a sticker or anything adhering to the windshield or that obstructs your view, that is within the sweeping area of a windshield, that is the area intended by the manufacturer that you are supposed to be looking through. Now, obviously, if you change your windshield wiper to be 3 inches long, that is a problem. We won't cut. But if the standard area covered by a windshield wiper is a good indication. So you're outside of that, sticker away. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you can't.
Sean, that also applies for cell phones. I've seen an awful lot of people stick their cell phone if they're using it, for the Waze app.
Windshield mounts, yeah.
You know what? If you put it in the area that's blocking your view, there's a ticket for that.
Absolutely. And I had a windshield mounted one, and I moved it to a cup holder one because I didn't like having it on the window. It was a problem for me. Even if I'd never been stopped by it, I acknowledge that I'm having difficulty seeing through it. What is the purpose of having it there? It's unsafe. So yes, I police myself. Okay. How can I alert police when I see a car with no brake lights? You know what? I refer to those vehicles as ghost cars. These are cars that show up in the last moment when your lights illuminate them because they have nothing going on in their vehicle. More often than not, these people have forgotten to turn on their headlights at night, and they're operating on their daytime running lights. Their dashboard is illuminated. They think they're good to go, and they're not. You know what? I've tried to communicate with them at stoplights. I've high beamed them. Generally speaking, they have no idea what I'm talking about, and it's a waste of energy. You can call police in that situation. It is a hazard, but determining whether or not it is a priority for 911 is going to be up to you. If you think this is if you almost hit them, if people are swerving out of control trying to avoid them, obviously that is a high priority. Let's see here. Kayla, what's going on? Clip it, link it. I'm not sure what's going on here. There's a bunch of conversation, but Q's got it under control. We are coming up to the end of our hour. I want to see if we've got any tires sticking out of fenders. We've had a couple conversations about that. Generally speaking, your tires should not be extended beyond. There are charges for improper tires. If you customize something that now does not have coverage, your tires stick out because you've put spacers on, you're going to create rooster tails in the rain. You're going to create visibility issues for other drivers. You're going to be kicking up rocks and stones and damaging other vehicles. Could you be charged for it? Absolutely. In fact, when I was on News Talk 1010 with Jerry Agar one day, a retired police officer called in or texted in and was really upset. Like, why aren't people being enforced? Because we see a lot of these vehicles on the road. And the truth is, and my answer then and my answer remains now, our priority has been the big four. There's been such an increase in people doing dangerous things like speeding and distracted driving that our focus has been on that. But I can guarantee you that if you get pulled over for one, you might find yourself getting a ticket for the other. So your tires and fender, your tires should not stick out beyond the fender. Can you arrest an off-duty officer committing a crime? There's no pass for crime. If a criminal is if a police officer is conducting themselves in a criminal way, they're going to get arrested. The fact that they're a police officer doesn't get them out of being arrested. In fact, they're probably going to get it much worse than anybody else. Because I can tell you that having formerly been a court officer prior to becoming a police officer, people get a lot of chances. People who do things and break the law get a lot of leeway. But you know who don't? People who know better. People who were put in a position of authority. Yeah, they don't get chances. They get the book thrown at them. So yes, you can arrest, or we can arrest off-duty police officers who are criminals, and those people should never be police officers again. Okay,
John, additionally to that, we are the only profession where we can be charged for the same offense
twice.
Yes, criminally or whatever statute is there, and under the Police Services Act as well.
Yeah. So whatever we do, we're held accountable, but it's not good enough. So our service, the Police Services Act, will come after us additionally, and even if you're found not guilty in one, you could be found guilty in another. So the courts that everybody else is subject to may say, okay, we're not going to prosecute, or they're going to give you a slap, but you may still find yourself, or a police officer may find themselves still in big doo-doo. And rightfully so. We are held to another standard. I know that the public doesn't always see that, or think that many people think that we get away with stuff or have special privileges. If we fail to stop for a stop sign in a police car, we get taken. We can lose pay, not just. And additionally, other issues like.
And we can face the charge as well.
And additionally, so there is definitely a double standard, but it's not in our favor. Okay, I want to do a quick. I want to do a quick
what?
scan. I want to do a quick scan to see if there's any really amazing questions before we wrap up our hour, because it is 10 o'clock. But because we don't have another show coming, I could take 5 minutes. Let me see. There's something really amazing.
John, they're all amazing.
This is, you know what? Thank you for everyone who's watching. I really appreciate it. Seriously, this show wouldn't be a show if it wasn't for your input and participation. The fact that you come in here, ask questions, this is what we do. And if you weren't here, we'd be not doing very much. Or I'd be doing something else, because we wouldn't be here.
Oh, I'd find something for you to do.
Yes, I'm sure. What if here we go. This is not a zinger, but it's a good question from Gur93. What if the Yours to Discover logo is covered by the plate cover? Is that illegal?
Absolutely.
The deal is that you cannot obstruct any portion of the plate. Everything is important. Somebody asked me last night on a comment, could I cut my plate to make it smaller in the front? No. In fact, that's a charge that is arrestable. I think I read it was arrestable.
I'm not sure, but
I'd have to double check. But it's serious. You can't. It's not even your plate. It is technically Ministry of Transportation property. Yeah. And yeah. So you can't modify it. You can't damage it. You can't put stickers on it other than the one in the specific place that is your validation, top right-hand corner. I didn't love it. Actually, I went bananas every time I saw one that had a sticker in every corner. It was, decorating it, and then a happy face in the middle. People get creative, but you can't get creative when it comes to those.
John, those plate surrounds that car dealerships give you?
Yeah.
With their little bit of advertising?
Yeah.
They are absolutely unlawful.
I know. We've talked about that. And because they're covering a portion of the plate, you're obstructing a portion of the plate. Technically, it has to be the plate cannot be obstructed in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. And there's some that are really nice.
Why do you want to advertise for a car company? It's free advertising, but it could land you with a $110 ticket.
And I imagine they won't come and pay for it for you.
I would imagine they wouldn't.
Mind you, I'd like to see someone go and say, "Hi, I got a ticket for $110, Ford or Mazda or whatever company, and can you cover that for me, please?" You put it on, and there is some discussion like, well, why isn't it illegal for them to put it on? And the truth is, it's not illegal for them to put it on or have it in their showroom or give it to you, and it's only illegal for you to drive with it.
Yep.
So things to they make you go okay. Somebody had asked about what is the ticket for going around a traffic light by using a parking lot to circumvent that. So it's private property. Can you enter the private property and exit the private property to do it? Well, some private property places put up signs saying no pass through, no. And then you're trespassing at that point. And could it be enforced? Yes, under the Trespass to Property Act. I don't believe there's an HTA charge for cutting through. And prior to becoming a police officer, I sort of thought there was. And it's my understanding now that it's just HTA. And I've seen people set up to stop people for the trespassing. Because
City of Toronto, there's a bylaw.
Well, there is.
The City of Toronto is.
I didn't even know that.
Yep. Also passing the sidewalk. You have to come to a complete stop before you pass over a sidewalk.
When you're entering the roadway.
Both ways.
You have to stop before crossing a sidewalk to get into a driveway?
To ensure it's safe, yeah.
Get out of... I learned something. Can you put a check mark on the sheet there, Q? Another one that I didn't know. Really? Wow.
I don't think that one probably gets enforced.
I've never even heard of it.
But exiting a driveway, exiting from a parking lot, you cannot drive across the sidewalk without coming to a complete stop first.
Well, the exiting I knew. I knew that you had to come to a complete stop prior to exiting. I didn't know it was for crossing the stopwalk, to be totally honest. I just knew you had to do it before you entered the roadway. Partially because, and I assumed it was the whole yield from private drive thing but now that you say it, it makes total sense.
Yep.
But would you not still need to come to a stop prior to entering the roadway if there was no sidewalk present? Because that's where I thought it was. I never, the sidewalk wasn't you stop before the sidewalk, but I have to look it up now. Now I have an investigation. I need to know. And this is one of the things, I learn stuff every day. There's always stuff that we talk about. There are questions we get stumped on. This is not just you learning. We're all learning. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is now 5 after. I have hit that 5-minute extra extension. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Really appreciate it. To everybody who's watching on Instagram, have a fantastic day. The TikTokers, you're awesome. Well, you're awesome too, Instagram, but just less of you here, so they're more awesome by virtue of sheer volume. So thank you very much for spending time with us. We will be back for the Friday episode tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Come out and hang out with us. Bring your questions. Bring your friends. We'd love to see you all. And again, go on to, I got to do the shameless plug. VoiceoverCop is my name on TikTok. It's also my name on Instagram. It's also my name on Twitter. It's a thing. VoiceoverCop is where you can actually reach me directly if you have questions, if you want to talk about tech, if you want to talk about the fact that I'm on a diet, I'm eating protein, I'm not eating carbs, I'm on an adventure. If you want to follow along, that's where you want to go. If you are watching and you want to keep up with other things with Toronto Police Traffic Services, you can get us on Traffic Services on Twitter. You can get us at Traffic Services Toronto on Instagram. You can watch us and all of the videos that we've been making, aside from some of the videos that we have on TikTok, you can watch on YouTube as well as YouTube Shorts. You can also watch all of our live episodes in replay on YouTube. YouTube address that our account is called Traffic Services Toronto Police. I know it's a big shock. That's who we are. That's where you can find us. And hopefully you will see us tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, everybody. Be well, and we will see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Pressing these buttons. I gotta press it.
Go.
I gotta do the countdown. So
No, it's good.
It's good? You sure?
It's good. Yeah,
Are you
I hear
positive?
myself. Stop it. I hear myself. Go.
Okay, we're offline there. We're still online with everybody else. We still have about 20 people inside. We've got about a dozen. Well, we got people on YouTube. We got people on Traffic Services Facebook. We've got people on my Facebook. We have people on Twitch. It's awesome. We got people everywhere, and we appreciate you. We really do. It's always interesting trying to get everybody seen, because we're staring 3 different cameras. So I'm rarely looking at that one because I'm so focused on these where we have the volume of people. We had over 7,390. No, we had exactly 7,395 people. We grew our channel during our live by about 100 people. We had over 1,000 people in the room at a given time. That's pretty amazing. We talk about where people come from, how people find us. Well, live is part of that. So if you're a creator and you're trying to expand your presence, live is a really good way to do it. It's not for everybody, but it is a fantastic tool. We talk about going live and how it all works. I talk about that on the VoiceoverCop TikTok when I go live, doing some behind the scenes. And I actually I put it up on here as well, both on Twitch and on. Do I do it on YouTube? No, I don't do it on YouTube. You can get it on Twitch. So that's it. That's all. That's my story. I am going to sign off. Thank you again for spending time with us. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a good one. I'm going to do outro music.
Nix this.